Dear guests, welcome to the second session starting in Hall B. Before we start, I want to remind you 2 points. First of all, QR codes will be available on the both sides on the screens throughout all the panel. Also, you can take notes and you can raise your hands to give your notes to our staff. And the second one, you can also get your headphones for simultaneous translation by showing your ID at the front door. So, for today, we are here to discuss about ethical debates and policy regulations on AI. This session delves into the ethical and public debates surrounding AI, focusing on key questions. What criteria should we use to identify and implement ethical values in AI system design? How can we establish oversight mechanism to address ethical concerns arising from AI use? What strategies can ensure transparency and accountability in AI development and deployment? How can we consider cross-cultural differences when setting and developing universal ethical standards for AI? How can we raise awareness and increase women's representation and gains in defining these standards for AI technologies? So, today's session's moderator is Assistant Professor Nursam Keskin Aksay, KADEM Executive Board Member, and also she is of Social and Cultural Anthropology in Department of Sociology at Marmara University. She earned her PhD from Freie University Berlin, graduating with the highest honors. Dr. Keskin Aksay has held academic positions at Ibn Khaldun University, Freie University, Humboldt University, and contributing to various international projects and publications. Her work encompasses topics such as Muslim women, post-colonial theory, migration, social change, social police, the challenges faced by disadvantaged groups, and the portrayal of violence against women in media. So our speakers are Assistant Professor David Tuffley, Mia Shandan, and Dr. Noor Naim.
Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you very much again. Esteemed guests, my colleagues, the students may be here, and also the KADEM team. Thank you very much for being here. This is the ethical debate and social policy session we have. Not surprisingly, I have this session because in my also research area and studies are based on this ethical debates. Today I have a very valuable guest will be speaking about other different parts of this ethical debates and social policy making. Actually, we are, as KADEM, having the 6th summit and trying to discuss everything holistically. Even if this is a new discussion and this is a very, very controversial discussion even, today we will maybe point out this more. We want to get in and we want to have a deeper understanding about it. That's why the audience is also open to share their questions. Today, we normally have 4 guests for today, but one of our guests have a family emergency. That's why she couldn't make it today, but very kindly she sent a video for sharing her own opinion with us. That's why I will begin with Nebahat Arslan. I will introduce her, and then we will have the video. Then my other guests will be in order giving their presentations. Today we will have another issue after the video that every of my guests will be speaking on the stage because we are all having the academic background and we are much more having the presentations in an interactive way. That's why. The first video is by Nebahat Arslan. Nebahat Arslan is a group general counsel at Goodnotes. Actually, originally, she is a qualified lawyer in England and Wales, and she serves as the group general counsel and compliance officer at Goodnotes. a digital note-taking application that collaborates closely with industry leaders such as Apple, Samsung, Google. And actually, she has a position as a Chief Partnership Officer at Women in AI as an NGO. And also, she's having a significant role in World Economic Forum's AI governance. We will have her video and then we will continue. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kadem, for this opportunity. Due to family issues, I could not attend the 6th International Women and Justice Summit in Turkey, organised by Kadem. However, I want to thank Kadem for the invitation. Being part of this is truly an honour. By background and a bit about myself, I'm a lawyer and I have been practising law since 2009 in England and Wales. I currently work as a compliance and general counsel at GoodNotes. GoodNotes is a digital note-taking app and has been developing and releasing different types of AI tools since 2022. I'm also the Chief Partnership Officer at Women in AI, a non-profit organisation. It works to increase female participation in AI. Additionally, I hold essential roles with World Economic Forum's AI Governance and Alliance Forum, and I'm a member of the EU AI Alliance. I have spent many years working on different tools, different companies that use AI in different sectors to improve operations. Today, however, I want to discuss about common obstacles that women face, such as bias, stereotypes, and lack of representation in the tech and AI industry. To understand bias in AI, it's crucial to recognize that these biases do not appear overnight, as we know. We need to think about how to increase women numbers in tech, improve intellectual diversity. We know that we are at a remarkable turning point in history. This is characterized by extraordinary technological advancements. There's a significant rise in AI, especially in generative AI, and our capacity to transform data into actionable intelligence. This pivotal technological shift driven by AI, as we know, only occurs once every 30 years. Now more than ever, diversity is essential for organizations to thrive. We know that AI has a potential to benefit society significantly when diversity and inclusion are prioritized. Still, it can also cause harm if these principles are not integrated into every aspect of an organization. How do we achieve this? Women face many challenges, including biases, stereotypes, underrepresentations. AI relies on vast amounts of data to learn and improve, which we know can reproduce societal biases. This is evident in many AI areas, such as large language processing. The built-in AI biases can reinforce existing prejudice against women and minorities. Many women need to be included in the field of AI. Well, reports indicate that only 70% of the professionals in this area are men, which leaves a small percentage of women to work in these tools, data sets, develop AI. How do we achieve equality? Well, to achieve equality, we need more girls to pursue and women to pursue science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. We need over 15 million girls and women to seek educational careers in technology and AI. But understanding that the biases in large language models can spread societal issues like casual discrimination is crucial. That's why we must educate people on these topics and raise awareness. This is especially important in large language models, which often reflect, as we know, narrow viewpoints. Well, we know generative AI artifacts inherently contains biases within their training processing, including cognitive biases, which is unconscious error in thinking that affect individuals' judgments and decisions, sample biases. This occurs when the training data does not accurately represent the population that will use the model, often leading to one group being overrepresented or underrepresented. It is vital to cultivate bias and mitigation skills. Well, first step is to acknowledge that the potential biases within generative AI and related tools. Well, further action is needed. We must develop the ability to critically evaluate artifacts encountered in this rapidly evolving AI landscape. We also need human-centered approach. We can't have individual-centered approach. This goes beyond the standard numeric matrix. It should incorporate human. Humans should be at the center of evaluation matrix like relevance, fluency, coherence, and overall quality of the model's outcomes. I propose taking this evaluation a step further by using matrix related to X, representing you and me, as the starting point. From this center, we can then expand our focus outward and consider personal bias, direct environment. This analysis can be further broadened to encompass different regions such as specific states, countries, continents, trading regions, and more. Given the growing evidence of biases and AI and discriminatory algorithms, there is an ethical obligation to examine underlying processes. We should be providing fair opportunities for individuals to challenge these data, assumptions, matrix used in automated decision making, for example. We should have a genuine accountability, forums. Independent companies should be at the forefront of all of these drives, and companies should work with governments to enable for the changes to happen. And we should allow citizens to have access to these independent companies to question the data sets. And we should also have legislations and regulations that will help ensure that AI contributes positively to human flourishing. We should cultivate bias mitigation skills. We should ensure that
Okay. I think Nebahat is not here, but yeah. I want to thank you from here as well to her to sending this video in a very emergency circumstances actually. And it is very nice that she already summarized the main points in a much more, let's say, macro level, and then we will get into the details through different kind of examples. And this is always very interesting for me that we have always the social policy suggestions very behind AI. I mean, when we are talking about AI, we are always talking that AI is hard to maybe define or to know or to understand, but the social policies or the ethical dimensions is much more related and reflected with society. That's why we will continue with David Tuffley, actually. He is also an assistant professor at Griffith University, Australia. And he's also senior lecturer in applied ethics and cybersecurity. He has already the short bio here, but what is delighted for me for David is he is already have a social anthropology, psychology, and literature background and working in this area. This is so much valuable, I guess, in today's world that all social and political issues are very much intertwined with other technology issues. Actually, he is also a very well-known expert on social impacts of technology with a focus on AI and software engineering and cybersecurity and ethics. He has over 80 books and reached more than 3 million readers worldwide. As a senior lecturer, he is also blends academic rigor with practical industry experience. This is also very valuable, that how we can relate academic area and private sector or the other sectors together. He also regularly collaborates with the innovation hubs in Berlin and Silicon Valley. Thank you very much, and it is your...
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. And
okay. Do you want to...
no, I think I'll stay here.
Okay.
Well, hello everybody, and may I say it is a great pleasure to be here talking to you about this today. My focus is on the humanizing aspects of technology. Technology is very often seen as a hard technical discipline, and the people working in it are only really concerned with those hard technical details. And yet, technology is pretty useless without the humans who use it. And really, its worth can be determined and evaluated according to how useful and how humanized that technology is. And this is coming from the anthropology background that Nursam just mentioned. So what I'll do today is run through a catalogue that I put together of the benefits and also the ethical and policy challenges, with a focus on how ethics can be translated into policy. Now, this is important because as we move forward with the development of AI, it does need to be formalized into the regulatory frameworks and the legal frameworks adopted by governments, formulated by governments. So that's what I shall do today, and hopefully it's a very information-rich topic. So there's a lot of information coming your way very shortly. All right, so the first topic to mention, of course, is healthcare personalisation. There are so many benefits here. I have a personal anecdote to mention here. My wife was diagnosed with breast cancer 5 years ago. She was diagnosed with the aid of artificial intelligence, and a treatment regime was developed with the assistance of that. Now, that was used by the human doctors who remained in charge of the process, but the AI was extremely useful, and she made a full recovery. So these, that is just one health benefit that is directly relevant to women. Thank you. There are a lot of abilities to basically monitor ongoing a person's health, their health status, early detection of various diseases specific to women. The great thing is that early diagnosis increases the possibility and the likelihood of a complete recovery. The longer it goes, the more likely it is to have a bad outcome. And also, finally, I guess the increased access to health information. It's been criticised that Dr. Google is used a little too often, but nonetheless, it can be a very useful thing. So, what are the policy implications here? There needs to be, first and foremost, strict data protection protocols developed and applied and enforced. Sensitive health information is particularly private, and hence the importance of that. There needs to be clear consent frameworks, informed consent. People need to be aware of what use the data is going to be put to. It shouldn't just be used by anyone who wants to use it. What else? safeguards against discrimination based on health data that could apply to insurance, things like that, and ensuring that AI systems are trained on diverse medical data sets. So those four policy issues really cover the health side of things. Second area, of course, is education. Tremendous opportunities here. People can devise their own customised learning paths depending on what they're interested in, where they want to go. And it can be done anytime, anywhere. You don't need permission to do it. You simply need to prompt the AI and it will come up with a detailed and customised learning path or learning plan. It will increase access to STEM education for women in particular. We really want to see more women coming into science, technology, engineering and mathematics. It's the future as we go forward, so the more people can be in that, the more women coming into that, the better. Flexible learning outcomes, all sorts of, based entirely on what a person wants to achieve. And it also creates possibilities for mentoring, to match up with knowledgeable individuals who are prepared to enter into a mentoring relationship. I've benefited greatly from this sort of thing myself, but it's an opportunity for women to refine their knowledge, to educate themselves and to refine it by mentoring. Some policy implications there. There does need to be regular audits done on educational material to make sure that the content contains no gender bias. That's probably the first and foremost one. There should be diverse representation in the training data, consciously diverse. Equal access to digital resources and tools, that type of thing. Algorithmic discrimination is a major issue. It's been mentioned by many delegates. Certainly an important policy aspect. Now, third, we have workplace equity. Yeah, workplace equity. I translated the slides into Turkish because I assumed it would work better for that.
Actually, yeah.
Thank you. That's why I've numbered the slides so that I make sure I'm talking about the right slide. Workplace equity benefits. Okay, so this is very important. Obviously, we need to see more women entering into the workforce, coming in, achieving management and leadership positions going forwards. So there needs to be bias reduction of recruitment through anonymised applications or application screening. That's, if we do that one thing, that will solve many of the problems. Performance evaluation systems can be made more fair, more equitable. Equal pay analysis to make sure the gender pay gap doesn't present itself. And also career advancement opportunities can be identified. So some very specific benefits there for women in the workplace. Policy issues, ethical issues. There should be mandatory algorithmic fairness assessments. That would be the major aspect. So periodically, every 6 months, 12 months probably, the processes and the algorithms that underpin them should be evaluated so that they can be determined to be fair, basically. There should be transparency in AI-driven hiring decisions, 100%, and there should be mechanisms for appeal if a candidate considers that they've been unfairly dealt with. Regular bias audits would be the other thing. Next. Lots of safety and security possibilities here with AI and women, in the sense that there can be enhanced threat detection apps that are devised and which can inform people, women, in situations where their safety might be an issue. Also, improved emergency response can be achieved so that, you know, a signal can be sent to emergency services, to the police immediately that a situation presents itself. So much quicker response there. Policy issues there. I guess the most important one there is the prevention of surveillance that infringes people's privacy. So there's a very fine balance between detailed enough information, but it doesn't go so far that it becomes intrusive. Now that's a difficult one to achieve. It really needs to be determined on a case-by-case basis, but you know, it can be done. It has been done. Privacy rights, therefore, are the major point there. Security measures, yeah, like I say, I think that there really just needs to be their balance. Now, how are we going? I think I need to pick up the pace a little bit. Okay. Financial inclusion benefits, very important, you know. For a woman to be financially independent is a major aspect of being independent and responsible for her own life. AI can allow better access, improved access to financial services. There can be fair credit scoring systems established, support for women entrepreneurs. You know, the Grameen Bank in Bangladesh is a fine example of microloans. Most of the loans go to women. They're really quite small loans, but it allows them to set up their own businesses. And you know, the amazing thing is that the founder of the bank said that of the thousands of loans he issued, not one woman defaulted on the loan. They always paid it. Amazing. So there does need to be regulation and prevention of algorithmic redlining. In other words, saying, no, this person is ruled out, ineligible, no loan for you. Fair lending practices are enforced. Now, sadly, in the modern world, there are more and more pressures and stresses on people. It's a complicated world that we live in, and it's getting more complicated all the time. There can be negative impacts on people's mental health. It's nothing to be ashamed of. It can affect anyone, and AI can provide tailored solutions or sort of therapeutic solutions. Now, this is not taking human therapists out of the equation, but as an initial method, it has great benefits, has been used quite effectively already. There does need to be you know, limits to how much it can't prescribe medication and things like that. At a more general level, I would say that AI is a tremendous helper, but the human is the important aspect of the equation. The human needs to be in charge, and to maintain that control, I think you would never let the AI take charge and make decisions, you know, particularly in hospitals. So that can lead to early detection of issues with, as I said before, if things are diagnosed early, there are better outcomes, generally speaking. There needs to be quality standards which don't currently exist in AI mental health tools. In fact, I was invited to give a talk at a mental health conference in Brisbane, which is going on right now, and I did like the first speaker. I made a video that outlined my things. So it is seen that there are great possibilities for AI in the mental health. This one was particularly focused on forensic mental health, but mental health generally. Okay. Family, childcare, important. The work-life balance that needs to be struck is a delicate issue. In my own case, when my wife is a software engineer, and she, when the children came along, she looked after them for the first few months, and then I took time and we co-parented, and we were able to both fulfill full-time jobs whilst one parent at least was always looking after the children. And I consider it an honour to have been so closely involved in the raising of them. You know, I think more men need to wake up to the fact that being very involved in the raising of children it's just a tremendous thing. I wouldn't have traded it for anything. So there can be...
Yes.
Oh, well, thank you. Thanks. Okay, so policy considerations there. There needs to be prevention of gender role reinforcement. You know, there is existing bias in what men and women should do. When I was first married, I looked to my own father to know how to behave as a husband. But I soon realised that he wasn't a great role model because he took no real interest in the raising. He went out to work, mum looked after the kids. It was no longer relevant in the world that you know, we were living in then. Yeah. So those gender role needs to be rectified. Equal support for all caregivers, regardless of their gender. Fair distribution of resources, that type of thing. How are we going? Close. Okay. Representation in technology. We need increased visibility of women in tech. That can be achieved through targeted mentoring programs. Very effective method. Better identification of gender gaps and enhanced recruitment strategies. So on the policy side, we need diverse AI development teams, bringing that diverse perspective to and really cultural too. Been talking to people here at the conference about culturally specific to Turkey, the development of AI, and I heartily support that. Probably need to keep moving. But suffice to say, inclusive design practices, equal access to technology education. Consumer services, also important. We're getting towards the end of the thing. Better understanding of women's needs, improved product development, more effective service delivery. Policy there, ethical data collection practices. I guess we've mentioned that already. Let's see. And finally, in the rights and advocacy area, better issue identification and tracking. It's, oh yes. All right, so overall, folks, I think there is a host of challenges here, but we are certainly equal to the task of devising workable solutions to this. I acknowledge there is a lot of work to do, but I'm optimistic, and I'm a realistic optimist, and I see good things coming. So that brings me to the end of my presentation. There we are. Thank you.
Thank you very much, David. Actually, this was all giving the controversial type, because you are also organize your PowerPoint in a certain way that everything is like structurally there, and at the same time the dichotomy is seen, because I will be having maybe at the end some questions about how we will deal with this dichotomy, that one application or social policy can turn to be a non-ethical, unethical kind of discussions for different groups.
Yes.
But it was very important to have all this order and the details. Thank you very much again. And we have Mia Chanda. The next speaker is coming from USA. And she's the CEO of Lighthouse Tree. And she mostly advises large organizations on the ethical adoption of AI and emerging technologies. And in 2018, she launched the 100 Brilliant Women in AI Ethics list and founded Women in AI Ethics, a platform promoting diversity and ethics in technology. Mia is a faculty member at University OpenAir at the Brooklyn Public Library, teaching AI literacy to underserved communities. Her research focuses on how socioeconomic factors affect women's representation in AI and tech roles. This is also quite interesting for me, because she's not dealing only advising the private sector, etc., but she's also creating the socio-economic discussions in disadvantaged groups and trying to also contribute on these issues. This is your turn, Mia. Thank you very much for being here again.
Thank you so much. Should I turn this on? Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be here today. Thank you for having me. I am Mia Chanda. As she mentioned, today I'm representing two organizations. One of them is Lighthouse Tree, and the other one is Women in AI Ethics. Lighthouse Tree is the technology advisory firm that I founded 10 years back. It is based in Berkeley, California. And Women in AI Ethics I started 6 years back, and it's based in New York. So today I'll be focusing mainly on women in AI ethics. And there are 4 parts to today's talk. The first is I'll introduce you to women in AI ethics. Why do we even exist? So we'll start there. We'll talk about why representation of women matters, why this is so critical. How do we build inclusive and trustworthy AI? And last but not the least, what is the role of women in the future of AI? So one thing I'd like to point out, I do not have slides in Turkish, my Turkey, but I do have a lot of visuals, and I will try and go slow. So why does Women in AI Ethics exist? I have worked in Silicon Valley for 20 years. Last 10 years, I launched my own company, and last 6 years, I've been working on Women in AI Ethics. The reason Women in AI Ethics exists is because we got tired of hearing from tech companies, conference organizers tell us, we don't know any qualified women. So we asked, where are you looking? Because they're everywhere. Everywhere you look, they're talented women doing great work. So we decided to launch our own organization, which is Women in AI Ethics. In 2017, this was a conversation with all of these men. Quick show of hands, do you recognize any of the men on the screen? These are millionaires, billionaires based in California. Not all of them are technical people, some are philosophers. The question that we want to ask and want answered is, who is deciding the future of AI? These men, we have Elon Musk, who's the wealthiest man on the planet, probably soon on Mars. And we have Stuart Russell, we have a lot of professors, well-known people leading. But as you can see, who's missing in that room? Women are missing in the room. 50% of humanity, 99% of humanity is also missing, because these are all the wealthiest people on the planet. In 2018, Dr. Joy Buolamwini at MIT and Dr. Timnit Gebru published their paper, Gender Shades. They found that when you take a data set when you look at facial recognition technologies, the leading commercial facial recognition technologies, which are used at airports, right? When you fly, that's right, when you go into some mall these days, you see this technology everywhere. And they found, here's what they found. In 2018, leading facial recognition technologies were not accurate for women, and especially women of dark skin, women like myself. Do you know who it was accurate for?
Not
White men. Lots of white men, exactly. You win the prize. So here we go. This is the bias technologies that we talk about. This is the bias embedded in the systems. So in 2018, I published the first 100 brilliant women in the AI ethics list. We have brilliant women who work in this space because women noticed, and women notice when technologies are not built for them. Right? You walk into a room, you look around. There's no one here like me. It's the same with technologies. Technologies don't represent you. You notice that, and women were the first one to notice that. And we have a lot of women who are all over the world, who are global. We have one right here in this room, Marve Hickok from Turkey. Yeah. She is a leader, and she was also one of the luminaries. So the response was very positive. This was something people paid attention. Oh, there are all these women, and they're doing great work. And here we are. Joy Buolamwini. We have women who had now data to show that they're not the only ones. The leading women who said, oh, everybody says there are no women in this space. Maybe they think I'm a man. We also had the co-founder of DeepMind, which is one of the leading AI companies in this space, notice that, oh, this is a great resource. We should be hiring more women. We should be recruiting more women. So it became a resource for a lot of people who did not know that we are here, that we exist. So our mission is very simple. We want to increase the representation, the recognition, empowerment of women, of experts in the space who happen to be women. Because we are experts. And there are women in this field doing great work. So we have an online directory, so we can help recruit more women. Because the question comes up, how do we change things? How do we make sure we have more women? So we have a directory. We also have mentoring. We offer mentoring because it's not enough for some women to succeed. We want everyone to succeed and help others. And we also host events, smaller events, not big events, but where we invite a lot of these women to come present their work. So why does this matter? I don't think this audience needs to be told why it matters. We know why representation matters. But let me share with you the statistics which are put together just to illustrate what the issue is. I thought these numbers were only for United States because I worked there, but yesterday in all the keynotes, I noticed the numbers were very similar across the board. So EEOC is the Equal Employment Opportunities Commission in the United States. And they said the representation of women, now women are, we heard the statistic, 50% of humanity's humans are women. Half of the tech workforce is also women, and yet of the American workforce is women, but in tech workforce, the numbers are the same as in 2000s. Imagine that. 25 years later, we are not moving forward, they're still at the same numbers, so what's going on? If you look at how many are at high-tech companies, 23%, how many in CEO roles? 2%. And it hasn't budged. 2% of funding that goes to technology companies, 2% of the total funding that goes to startups, only 2% goes to women-led startups. How do we build our own companies? How do we create opportunities if we are not funded? So this is how we talked about data sets and how a lot of these
biases are embedded in data sets. So I'll give you an example here, but I'll read it out because I know that it's a small font size. This is a picture of 2 astronauts, women. But when I asked, use the inbuilt tool to put an alt text, right? Describe this image for me. It says a couple of men in a factory. Because remember, these data sets that are being used are from 50 years back. The training data used in large language models, these fancy red black boxes, are all trained on past data. When women weren't allowed to work, women could not have bank accounts, women could not own property, women could not be astronauts. That's the data set. So when we talk about automated systems, that's what they're generating. Gender stereotypes, which are embedded in the large language models. Again, women as homemakers, women as nurses, men as doctors, men as engineers. So when you input the prompts, what comes out of those systems is the same old, same old. This is a great book by Hilke Schellmann, who is based at NYU. And there are many other great books, but she focuses primarily on hiring algorithms. And the reason it's important is if you're not being hired, it may not be because you're not qualified. It's because the algorithms don't recognize your expertise because the algorithms are trained on, exactly. And Amazon had to pull back, right? You heard in the keynote at dinner yesterday, some of you did. Amazon had to pull back their hiring algorithm because it kept rejecting women. It would only hire men. So there you go. It's not you, it's the AI. So I'll pause a second here because this is a big issue for women especially, and children. You can generate deep fakes, you can create likeness of yourself, and you don't have to be a celebrity. It could be anyone in this room. AI has become so advanced. You've heard that, right? It can create duplicates, and that can be harmful for average person, average woman, because your face without consent can be used in anywhere. Advertising, deepfake porn. So this is another form of technology-facilitated violence against women, and the harm is real. So how do we build inclusive and trustworthy AI? There's so many amazing people working on it, right? So we talked about the problems and the issues. Let's talk about the solutions. What does that look like? The bias is embedded in training data sets. So we all agreed, right? We know this. So now these training data sets are massive, and I'm talking massive, like trillions of petabytes, and then we also have 15 millions and millions of images. There's a woman, Dr. Abiba Berhane, who's doing amazing work in this space, and there are many others, but she has done extensive work going into these data sets and uncovering those biases, so those data sets can be pulled down, and we can fix those. It's a big effort, but there's work being done there. But then there's algorithmic debiasing, that you can use algorithms, right, to maybe fix some of these issues, but this is what happens. When humans are not involved in the process of debiasing, this is Google. Google's Gemini, they try to debias using algorithms, and they said, let's diversify. So diversification with our context looks like this. You have black Nazis. They got a lot of criticism for this, and there are Nazi women. This is not what we mean. We don't mean diversification, that we should just put a color, right, brown color everywhere, and we don't want more Nazis of color. We want actual human beings represented, but this is where it can go wrong. We are working on more legal protections for women, and AOC, she is one of the representatives who just won her re-election, which I'm very excited about. And she is driving some bills which are going to protect women and treat deepfake AI-facilitated violence, abuse, image abuse as a real crime, because that's what we need. So what do we need? What do women need? 3 main areas that we focus on. One is recognize women's role in the responsible AI ecosystem, not reckless, Not out of control AI, responsible AI, because we are leading in this space. We want to continue to get the support. We also want to make sure that we are funding more women-led companies, because we want to make sure women can build the tools and the technologies they want, not the ones that are created by just men. And then reskilling, making sure that you are prepared for whatever those jobs are of the future, because you cannot reskill for jobs that do not exist. Many of the jobs are going away. There will be new ones created. How do we make sure we're prepared for that? So this is what we did. In New York, we brought together a delegation of Canadian women, and these are women from all different backgrounds. These are women, they're researchers, they all work on different areas. So just to show you that you don't just have to be working on one issue, there are so many women doing great work, and we continue to bring them to New York. We continue to have delegations and support them and make sure that they're sharing their expertise with everyone. 2 more slides. And here's where our approach is different. We don't believe that it's only STEM. STEM is important, but we want inclusion of all the women. We have lawyers, we have artists, we have sociologists, we have anthropologists. We believe everyone has a role to play. If you're building chatbots, you need some psychology or some mental health background. You cannot be creating these technologies for healthcare without having any background in it. So we want to make sure that all disciplines are represented, because let's face it, your voice matters. It really does. So I will leave that with you, and if you'd like to collaborate, or if you'd like to talk more and discuss the work we are doing, or if you'd like to bring a delegation to New York, we'd love to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mia. Thank you. It was fascinating for me, as an anthropologist, to have this kind of as an NGO and reflecting into society in different ways. But at the same time, you already covered through the representation discussion how epistemological backgrounds are so much important, not directly aiming ethical or non-ethical things, because the intersectionality discussion that you are saying, meaning that much more inclusive for Black people or for different kind of background people, is very much interesting. But at the same time, you are giving the inner discussion that it is also used with different tools in a non-ethical and unethical ways that, let's say, create different inner ethical issues, like the Nazi example that you were giving, that Black Nazi. Or, I mean, these are very different layers to put in a different way. That's why, I mean, how the hegemonic epistemology is also affected was like, I got this feeling that you are working with these issues. Thank you very much. It was fascinating. At the end, maybe we will have more questions for this. And then I have the other speaker, Noor. Actually, Dr. Noor Naim is a very important other young scholar here, because she's coming from academia, and also she is working as a founder and director actually with NGOs. Noor Naim is an entrepreneur, founder and director at AI Minds Academy. She established and based in Palestine and Turkey. She is working with this environment and with these business sectors in Turkey, Lebanon, and Qatar. She's everywhere in this sense. And she holds the PhD in Business and Administration and Artificial Intelligence Management. And she, as I said, as the founder of Minds Academy, AI Minds Academy, she has been giving so many different, let's say, trainings and different kind of codings and virtual robotic kind of seminars. And she is also trying to create track records of building strategic partnerships with the key institutions in MENA region. This is also another important discussion, that in different regions in which the social, cultural, and political issues are totally different, and the AI discussions should be reframed and revised. This is also very important. The stage is yours, Noura. Thank you very much for coming here.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me. Okay, thank you. Oh, sorry.
The pointer is, yeah.
Yes, yes. Okay, thank you for having me for this very important event. And let me start to pray for my family in Gaza, who is under the Israeli genocide, which uses artificial intelligence tools, and to end and ceasefire, inshallah, as soon as possible. Today, thank you, Mr. David and Maya, about your very insightful presentation. I will complete after your very insightful presentation about AI, so I will concern about how AI having a bias and discrimination against women and marginalized groups in the MENA region. So the most important question that can we imagine the future where our digital legacy is married by the AI fueled bias, the discrimination against marginalized groups. So we now talking about the bias and discrimination, but how the future will be. Now we are dealing with AI tools and like ChatGPT. I think all of us using ChatGPT. So the ChatGPT is not a final product, as Elon Musk talked about this. So we now create our future. So how the future will be by all of these bias and discrimination. And to understand the bias in the AI, it must be mentioned that the bias are not the result of a sudden moment. Yani it's not happened suddenly. It's appear in the several stages of the artificial intelligence involvement. Yani it started from algorithm development process to data gathering, algorithm process, then how the decision taking about how we can use this artificial intelligence. So it's not suddenly, it's happened before from the basics main and the important main from data to the decision making. And we must focus on that AI is not a magic, because the media and the social media talked about how AI will change our life, how AI will create the new landscape. But it's not a magic. It's basically, it's a data mixed with a solutions that created by a human to have an output. It's simple like a machine. You put an input and the machine working like a generator, then you have an output. So the main important factors here is the human, is not the artificial intelligence techniques. Therefore, this technology is depending on the human bias. It's a mirror, it's like a mirror. The society, it's in social life, we have a lot of bias in our, how we're dealing with our peoples, how we're dealing our societies. So the artificial intelligence technique is the mirror of these bias, and it's reflected in the technology and all of the AI, our artificial intelligence tools. So, the World Economic Forum established an investigation, and they said that it will take another 132 years for all the world to achieve a gender equality in general. So it's needed 132 years to achieve this equality. And this is reflected in the same in the artificial intelligence. As my friend said that only 12% of the AI researchers are women till now, and they represent only 6% software developers, and 13 times less likely to file information and communication technology patents demand. So this is the estimation by UNESCO. So we are talking a very critical numbers in the woman in the artificial intelligence. These percentage and numbers is an important question, an important title. How does this gap is the representation in technology and artificial intelligence affect the society woman in practical, not in theoretical? So because In conference, we're talking about theoretical and how bias against the marginalized groups, against the woman, but it how will be reflected in practical, in the life, in the social initiatives. There are a lot of promising practices on how to address the bias within the AI systems and to employ AI tools and to contribute in actually addressing gender equality, like what do you do, Maya and Mr. David. But although all of these initiatives and all of these movements, it's still we have a bias against the woman, and we attempt to some researchers and companies in recent years to make it more welcoming for women and other marginalized groups to be involved in AI, like CADEM and these events. And to more understand the bias with artificial intelligence, it must be mentioned that the biases is not a result of, yeah, we talked about this, sorry. Here are some examples that talked about how we met a bias in the artificial intelligence tools in our life. Amazon, as Maya talked about HR and human resources development and how they recruitment by using AI tools. Amazon, they use tools and they scrap the recruiting tools that was intended to decrease the recruitment process in a human resources department after it became apparent that the AI algorithm preferred the male more than a woman. So they stopped these tools before 1 year. And in the health data available, as Mr. David talked about, how the men could make a medical application that use artificial intelligence less accurate for women, and how it will affect and means actual risk and for the health of the woman. And we will shed some light on the most significant these risks, like harassment and violence of privacy against a woman in artificial intelligence, like deepfakes. And Maya talked about this, how deepfakes expose women to harassment through fake and just for sexual person, and which created by, sorry for that, but a white man companies. And this technology eases access to gender-based violence, and most and general as 8 million, that 8 million users of Telegram uses deepfakes just for targeting a woman as a sexual violence. And the problem is existing issues related to gender-based violence and absent accountability, coupled with the lack of knowledge in society about these tools and about the dimension of these important tools. So from that, the awareness and like these events, it's very important to make awareness, and for the society who don't have a knowledge about AI and technology and how AI working and how we can using a ChatGPT and they can understand us. The society they don't have need to understand how AI is working from technical part, but they need to know how these AI tools can be harmful for people and can be harmful for societies. The second is the alarm of depending and rooting existing bias against the woman and gender and sexual, as these systems are trained on the data that may contain bias and contain sexual, racial, social bias against women or marginalized groups. Another investigation by Guardian that algorithms used by social media platforms like Facebook and etc. decide what content to promote and what content to suppress is part based on the extent of sexual significance of the photo. The more sexual photo is less likely to be seen by the public. So according to this investigation, they found the AI tools which uses to determine the photo who is be reaching a lot of public. It's such as race and sexual for a woman rather than a man. And I am working on these topics these algorithms is used by U.S. National Cancer Institution, and this released by them that shows how clinical breast examination is performed by using AI tools to determine the cancer, and by using AI tools in health sector. Google classified this image as having a highest score of racism, and Microsoft AI was 82% confident this image was full of sexuality. It's a sexual image, but it's just a shot of the patient's cancer screen, because they have a bias against a woman, and they treating and they dealing with woman photos, with woman topics like more than sexually. It's a sexual. In social media, there is a sexual. In health sector, if using AI tools, it's a sexual, reflect a sexual issue. And this problem is just the tip of the iceberg of women navigating AI algorithms with, and it's two basics. We are talking about harms against a woman. They avoided to having a very important position in the organization, because the AI tools that uses by recruiting field, they prefer men rather than women. So the impact of women and they how can they affect the society, it decreases by these tools. And if we're talking about Gaza and how Israelis uses AI, we're talking about killing, not a sexual abuse or a sexual bias. We are talking about how they end the life of people depend on artificial intelligence, which is having a bias and discrimination against Palestinians. They killed and they bombing a neighbor just because they suspect there is a person, men or women, in this building, they working against Israel. They killed more than 150 people just because the Israeli tools, AI tools, suspect this building having just one person. And I think you have another session talking, well, they will discuss this issue in details. So, yes, sorry. And now we are talking about bias and how the AI tools having a huge bias against the women. But how we can address this? The tech companies should analyze their data set to include more diversity. It's diversity of gender, women and men, diversity of culture, diversity of religion, diversity of values, so as well as more diverse team, so you can decrease this error or bias. Second, companies should also check that their algorithm works similarity on images of men and women of the groups. There is no differences. So this is the role of AI ethics coming here, because every company who working in technology or who created AI tools, they must involve one person in just who working on testing these tools if it's have a similarity between groups or have a similarity between genders or religions or language. Because in Arabic language, we suffering from a lot of bias and discrimination in the ChatGPT. If you're using ChatGPT in Arabic and English or Turkish language, you will find how they have a bias against some topics in Arabic language. They can reply, sorry, I can't reply to you about this topic because it's a sensitive topic, and etc. And this is very popular in Palestinian issues and in Gaza issues. Okay. Okay, I think Maya talked about this issue and the image, and okay. So while here we are talking about bias in working field, while 40% of American judges are women, only 30% of the generated image for the word judge were women. So you can see how there's tools having a bias against a woman. Among fast food workers, the model produced 1,700 dark-skinned people, even though 70 of fast food workers in the US are white. Why? Because this tool generated by a white man technology companies. And to address this, I think this is very important. Experts would argue that one promising way to ensure the historical gender biases are not amplified and projected into the future is to increase diversity through the number of women working in technology. Facts, only 22 of AI professionals globally are women, and 78 male, according to World Economic Forum. And in the tech companies, only 20 of technical roles are held by women, and Facebook and Google, less than 2% of technical roles are held by Black employees. And this is very important because we are talking about these numbers. These reflect how they are dealing and how they are strategy against the marginalized groups, if we are talking about the Black women and Black people as marginalized. And globally, women only represent 25% of workers, and in science and technology, engineering and STEAM, and only come just 9% in the leadership. So they decrease their effect and how they can be effectively and efficiently changing the societies about the bias against a woman. It's not enough to include a woman if we are talking about how we can solve this problem. If we can say it's a problem, it's not a problem, it's a big problem. It's not just enough to include a woman in the field. We must also examine how gender-based culture decrease may be reflected in design and developmental AI applications. And another thing, we must working as researchers, institutions, policymakers to prioritize and invest in conducting in-depth studies on AI ethics, including examination in bias affecting the Middle East and Turkey. Because when you make a search about AI bias against the marginalized groups, you have a lot of research in English language and talking about how there is a lot of bias in the Europe and America and etc. But we are talking about, we are searching in the Middle East and Turkey. I think we have worked hard to cover this gap about the weaknesses in research field and in the initiatives and institutions and policymakers to more integrate on this field. And this has helped how we can reach the accountability and governance of AI and to reach the responsible AI technology in our countries. I will end in, after this slide. The first tool, it's necessary to shed light on who defines the algorithms and instructions, the artificial intelligence, because technology reflects the beliefs and the idea of programmers. It's a mirror. So the most important thing we talking about in the Middle East, we using AI tools, but we're not creating an AI tools. So we're using AI tools which coming outside, and it's have its own value, its own idea, its own ethics. And we cannot reflect our own values as Arab countries or as MENA regions or as a Turkey. We have own values, own ethics, own culture, and it must be integrated in the AI tools. To protect a woman and reduce this risk, there should be a strong guideline and legal framework which they use in AI. And EU working hard about this. They have a lot of code of conduct to determine how we can use AI. And then I will point, because when I'm talking about the code of conduct, which is meaning regulations and laws to decrease the harms of AI and to protect their societies from these bias and discrimination. In this genocide, Israel uses AI to kill Palestinians, and in the same time, they go to EU and sign about this code of conduct, and they want to protect the world from harmful AI and to increase the responsible and governance AI. So what's the meaning of these regulations? What's the meaning of these rules? Okay, I will finish here. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nur. Sorry for interrupting, but I guess we already have this different regional discussion and how it is important to navigate and include this kind of discussions in micro level. And you mentioned at the end the macro level, that how we can say so many social policy here, but if the international organizations and decision makers are having already biased and controversial decisions, we have to work harder for different kind of, I think, channels. Now we can have the questions from the audience, like through the QR codes or the written kind of forms. But until I have the questions, I have a general, let's say, maybe some questions to my speakers. Actually, I want to begin with David by thanking about the Turkish slides. From the beginning, he sent the slides, and I know that it is not easy to translate, and the translation was very good as well. I mean, I don't know, maybe we can speak about the language, AI types, or etc. as well, because even the context-based feelings is very important in translations. And I want to ask the much more, maybe you can give example about some policy possibilities that you are mentioning, especially the care economy was important for me. Your role was also amazing to represent here. Thank you very much for this, because I think it is increasing. It's hopeful that we have different gender roles and much more men are included in care economy. But specifically, how AI can be helpful for women and men in their care practices for children, for example?
Yeah, thank you. That's a really good question. Yes, I think at the broadest level, AI can be seen as a great democratizing tool, influence, and trend to basically equalize the way that families function. I mentioned that my own father was not a great role model. He was a good man, but he was not a great role model in the sense that he was not at all involved in the raising of the children. And at first I adopted this, but then I realized that in the 20th century, and now the 21st century, that the old model, the old paradigm of marriage is no longer relevant. And I came up in my own way of a new paradigm, which I'd love to tell you now, which is, just briefly, a marriage or a partnership is really a partnership of equals. And it is not about having greater or lesser power in that arrangement. It's equal, and that the role of each partner is to support the other in the fulfillment of their potential as a human being. And that includes having children and raising children, but also in all sorts of career and other ways, balance. So looping back to artificial intelligence can facilitate a more sort of an equitable way of relating. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It is. I think we can also, through this guide, we can have different kind of models to think about care economy as well, because it's a coming hot topic in the world and in different kind of organizations. Maybe I am also having some questions from the audience that I can, in between, ask the questions from the audience, because they also have a big say here. Okay, I mean, this is an important question for the academia sector, that this is for all of you, that we are also having great problems at universities about this. AI is a very important tool nowadays, and it is very accessible. And the question is, what do you think about the availability of ChatGPT in academia for students? I mean, should we allow, or what kind of restrictions there should be in different ways? This was the question by, can I see the name? I don't know, but by Elvin Sunay. Okay.
Thanks,
Maybe
yes.
who wants to take it?
Oh,
Yeah.
well,
Yeah, you can begin, please.
Sorry, yes. We are grappling with that at our university, and I
Yes.
think every university is. So basically, we assume that they are going to use a large language model in doing assessment. What we insist on is that they attribute, but they don't just copy and paste. They can use it as a scoping tool to generate ideas. And, you know, AI generates certain words that, you know, indicate it was generated by AI. Words like navigate and delve, things like that. So we want to teach them how to use it, because when they finish and leave and get jobs, they will be expected to use those tools. So they need to know how to use them before they leave.
Yes, okay. Please go ahead.
Well, I mostly work with adults, not young people, but I can provide two perspectives. One is as a parent, because so many children are growing up with these technologies. But at the same time, what I'm finding is they're much more aware of the issues with these technologies because they use it so frequently. And there is a mental health implication, I feel, that we are not considering here. My daughter deleted Instagram, for example, said it's not good for my mental health. YouTube, she said, did you know the algorithm keeps serving up all of these extremist videos?
Yes.
So there is so many problematic issues that if we were just to listen and ask the young people who are on these platforms what they're experiencing, I think our awareness of these issues would be tenfold. And I don't think we are listening to them enough. In the academic setting, when you're teaching, again, as a student, I want school, as a parent, for my child to grow up with critical thinking skills.
Yes.
I want them to
Same.
question things. If they're using a tool without understanding what goes into that tool or how the tool is making a decision, we run the risk of dumbing down.
Yes.
And therein lies the challenge. I know a lot of educators that I respect are making they're adapting. And the way they're adapting is they're making the students do the work in classroom. They're giving more time to the students to do the work, discuss. I feel that is the role of education. It is not to just, you know, spit out content after content, papers after paper. It should be training students to think. I like the use of tools as long as it's done in a way that you understand that generative AI tools are built with data which is used without consent. A lot of these generative AI tools is based on your data, my data, artist data.
Yes.
So as long as those ethical considerations are being made available to the students and there's transparency, I feel like that is the way to go, rather than just saying, here's a tool, use it, see what you can do with it, and then chase after it and say, you should not have done that, or they're like punishing them for it later on. I don't believe in punitive. I believe more education up front.
Thank you. Yeah, please, because we have different questions from the audience. Very
Shortly, I
interesting
think
ones.
this question is very important, because now when we are in the era, the ChatGPT coming in our life, and the educational system is not improved. So this is confused that happened. The problem is not in the ChatGPT. Now the problem is the education system. It's not improved, and adoption, how to use and to integrate AI tools in the educational process and educational systems. So that student in these years, they will use AI by wrong way. They copy and paste. And I think after 2 or 3 years ago, in the future, that this will be changed, the role is changed, and it will be integrated in the educational system with more effectively and efficiency way. So I advise my sisters here in the salon if you want to use ChatGPT, and all of us use ChatGPT, use it by know how to use it and why to use it. Because if you are using for copy and paste, you will graduate from your university and you will have your certificate, but you will not have a deep knowledge about your specialization. So this is the problem in the education system. It's needed to adoption and improvement to can be integrated and adoption how you use the AI tools in this process.
Okay, thank you very much. Actually, we don't have so much time, but we have interesting questions and some criticism also from the audience that why we are not taking these questions face to face, because this is just because of the organization of the structure, because we cannot manage everything. But this was a good thing that after the session maybe we can speak face to face. But this was an interesting thing in AI, because this was the criticism saying that why we are using technology as a barrier, and I am taking this a very good criticism, and that's why I was suggesting to have the written form traditionally, but still there is a barrier, I know, but in the break we are very open to have the questions and everything. Thank you very much for this. I have another thing from hearing disability representative here, and I think Onur Can Timur, he is asking that so many AI applications they are using are not recognizing them as yes, disability person, and they can have very crucial problems during the daily life practices. Do you have any suggestion, or do you know any social policy or anything about it, about disabilities? This is the question from the audience.
Just through the work we do with technology companies, there are 3 ways that they address it. One is having someone on the team who is a disability expert. Mm-hmm. The other way I feel is more effective is having someone with disability on their teams, because they will notice the issues. And the third is policy that requires inclusion of disability standards. For example, the slides that we put together, right? There should always be alt text with the slides. Mm-hmm. So I feel like we can also take personal accountability for inclusion. Interpretation, translation is one way, and also having alt text. But I think there are some things that we can do at an organizational level, but also personally be a little bit more thoughtful about how we address that and be more mm-hmm. inclusive.
Then we especially work on the applications, actually, on the region or on the context, I guess. Okay, do you want to say something? Okay. Okay, and another question is about the human control or human check in the AI reports, that if there is something wrong or unethical in certain reports, how much it is efficiently used, the human control, to check and maybe revise this information. This is the question.
Can I just say, I feel like there's too much reliance on this human in the loop. Sometimes we use it as a fail-safe, like, well, hopefully, technology goes back to hopefully somebody will catch it. Maybe we introduce, I feel like it's, say, autonomous cars, right? You're driving an autonomous car, and David and I had this conversation. The car crashes, right? Because that happens with Teslas. It's been in the news. Whose fault is it? Because if it's a self-driving car, and it's autonomous, mm-hmm. then is the driver at fault, is the manufacturer at fault, or is it the person, you know, who designed the algorithm at fault? And therein lies the trick. As well. Exactly, they're all humans.
This is my point.
Designer is a human, yes. Manufacturer is a human.
Totally
it's literally like which human gets to make the decision.
Yes.
And in the criminal justice system, there's an issue because judges are using these. As soon as you give control over to a technology, the challenge and the risk is you trust the technology.
Yes.
And the problem is when you blindly trust technology and say technology is better than human, right there, that human will start being less important. So even if you introduce a human in the loop, that humans should have the power to override, mm-hmm. should also have the power to think, and the autonomy, the agents to shut it down. But if we give control to the technology, so technology is smarter than humans, then that leads it down the road, which is going to be, it's not great for humanity, it's not good for society.
Thank you very much. Actually, there's a question to me that as an anthropologist, why I am especially taking the women parts much more underlined. This was the question. Actually, I am taking this as a question to Kadem as well, and saying that, and we are also in gender studies or women studies or in teaching or in every training in Kadem as well, we are not claiming that there is not injustices or inequalities for men as well or for different groups. But we are knowing by numbers and by different qualitative-based researches that this violence or different kind of discriminations are affecting and let's say going towards women. This is in Turkish yönelme. We are always making it kadına yönelik şiddet, not kadına karşı. What does it mean? Not against women, but directing the woman in indirect ways, in systematical ways, in structured ways. This doesn't matter. That's why we are always underlining women, but this doesn't mean that we are blind about the other injustices, but this is our issue and mission here, and we are doing this. That's why I want to close this session. If you don't want to say something more, do you want to add something, or yeah, please go ahead.
Just one thing.
Yeah, please.
It's like I do believe we focus on women as well as a marginalized group. That does not mean there are not other marginalized groups, and we do look at the intersection. Socioeconomics does matter. Yeah. There are issues that affect men too, the job displacement. So I do believe it's a shared effort. So just want to support your point that just because we focus on women does not mean the other issues don't matter.
Yes.
But we only have so much time, only so many resources. So we picked that one. And we understand issues better than any other issues, so we focus on that.
Thank you very much. Okay, then I want to conclude the session with a very small practice that I am using in teaching and in different things that I think this is metaphorically reflecting what is the problem in AI in social policy making. I want you to imagine, but honestly, I am saying honestly, imagine a business human being, right now, honestly, directly, and how many of you were imagining a woman? 2, 3, 4? The question was, please imagine a human, business human being, like business human, but business person. I mean, okay. I mean, I am translating directly from Turkish, I guess. Okay, iş insanı, we are calling it. Okay, and then how many was it? 4. After this session even, this is 4. Okay, I mean, I think there is no question about it. Then I will ask another question. Even it is woman, what was she wearing? Business suit. What was the color of the business suit? Black, gray, like this is the case. And is there anyone that imagined a black woman, for example? This is good. Okay, this is already good. But maybe a headscarf woman. Okay, I mean, but this is, I think, the special group that we know. We know working on the issue that, but we are talking about 3 person in the whole. Okay, and AI is working in this way. I mean, I don't know AI technically so much, but I know the social part and other part of it. And I think AI is working in this way. And what we have to work on should be changing this mindset and discursive, language-based, kind of embedded epistemologies we have in our minds before. Thank you very much for being here. It was a fascinating panel for me. Okay. Then I will call Sümeyye Erdoğan Bayraktar, my colleague and my dear friend, to give the whole, yes. Thank you very much, it was great. Yeah, thank you. Yes, it was good, yeah. Merhabalar. Tebrik ediyorum. Çok teşekkür ederim. Teşekkür ediyorum canım. Nasıl? session. Yeah, then we will have a group photo, I guess. Yes. You were amazing. Thank you very much. Okay, please. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please.